If you watch ReZero, you know one of the things that's always been weird was Subaru summoning. At the beginning of the anime episode 1, we see Subaru shopping at a convenience store. Immediately we see that he's not all there, since when we look at his eyes they have no glow, as if he's just a vessel, only coming to after he's summoned. This was really weird, and it was as if his conscience was already in the visions he was seeing of him and Emilia dying. We know these visions were real because they immediately happened after, but it makes me wonder if those visions were happening simultaneously as his body was in the store, because he didn't acknowledge what he saw in those visions were the same thing happening shortly after. We know his first loop/checkpoint started as soon as he was summoned by what we assume is Satella, but in none of his other deaths did he see the past or future. So I assume they were the same thing, or that the loop he saw was the actual first loop that happened where things could have gone differently but ended with the same death, happening when his body was in a store and didn't happen twice. That would make it make sense because he would have known he was going to die. Now that we understand the visions, how or why was he summoned in the first place? I think there's two possibilities. Like I said, his conscience was already summoned to the world, and it wasn't until after the loop finished with his death and his wish to save Emilia that it was set in stone and he was transported. The reason he was transported could be due to Satella knowing he's the only one who could save her, the fact that he's needed for something down the line, since his arrival was said to be predicted in the gospel 400 years ago, or his promise to save her. There's a lot of possibilities for why he was summoned, but I do believe it was all planned. He was supposed to arrive in Lagunica like he did, but I definitely think Subaru's memories are fuzzy and we aren't seeing the full thing. It feels as though there's something missing, because while him holding his bag proves he was in the store before being summoned, there are a few things that makes no sense. The first is that I find it hard to believe no one paid attention to him just appearing out of nowhere when someone was standing right behind him. Yeah, there could have been magic put on him to make everyone oblivious, but we also know Roswell knew of Subaru's sudden appearance in Lagunica, which makes me believe what we saw wasn't exactly when he was summoned, but instead was a point later down the line. This would make two mysteries make sense. Satella saying he did a bunch of stuff for her, such as giving her light, showing her the outside world, holding her hand and kissing her. This part has never made sense and left a lot of us puzzled, but she was saying it as if it genuinely happened. So what if this all really did happen, but these memories were either taken, eaten, or sealed away? He could have been in this loop for a lot longer than we think. We don't actually know if what we saw was when he was actually first summoned. This was something that stands out because rather than him appearing out of nowhere, it feels as though he was already standing there but woke up. I don't know what could have happened, but that spot specifically was chosen for his starting point. It can't be a coincidence that he was so close to where Emilia would get her insignia stolen. That's why I think it was all planned, and I also believe his summoning could have something to do with Ekidona, because we know she can see the future, thirst for knowledge, and showed Emilia all possible futures for her. She showed interest in Subaru in return by death, due to its infinite possibilities, so it would make sense. To her, Subaru is just a gold mine of knowledge. We can't rule out the possibility that he could have been summoned 400 years ago, then transported to the future. This theory would make a lot of things make sense, especially everything that has to do with Satella. It could have been that no one knew about him, memories of him were either wiped or changed, or lastly he went under another name. Something I thought of for Return by Death after seeing the Rick and Morty episode was what if instead of going back in time, just like in Rick and Morty, it's just transporting Subaru to another reality that looks like an exact copy of his before whatever caused it happened. This connects to my next theory that maybe throughout an infinite amount of realities, at least one Subaru existed in Lagunica and did all this stuff. Then after he made the vow to save Emilia, whom he thought was Satella in the visions, he binded all Subarus to this path and pushed on his wish, most likely at the cost of losing all of his previous memories and starting from the start. Though the one thing he kept is his subtle love for Satella and his wish to save her, that we see Subaru obviously has. You know, when you think about it, it's kind of weird that as Subaru was dying, he said he saved Emilia, who he thought was Satella, as if he knew somewhere in his mind that he could. Like he knew he could redo everything and change it. It feels as though from the start he knows about Satella's situation as well. I say this due to the multiple times he's promised to save her. You can't make me believe that he's saying it for no reason. Something about Satella that caught my eye is her split personalities and her love for Subaru, as if she actually knows him. We know she watches him in his journey, but this goes back to her saying he did a bunch of stuff for her. like he said Emilia did for him. We obviously know she has return by death since she gave it to him, so I'm thinking the same thing probably happened, where there are lost loops that only the person who went back remembers. If you don't exactly know how return by death and his checkpoints work, he has to be satisfied with what happened. Like when he beat Patelgus and saved Emilia, he was satisfied, but then learned of what happened to Rim. Due to him being satisfied before his checkpoint was updated, and he couldn't go back no matter how much he tried. It's actually a really cool concept for the ability, but I've considered that maybe Satella is from the future and traveled back, but I think it would be cool if it was Lycan reincarnated as a slime, where Cronoa, who was a bad side of Chloe, the hero, traveled back in time to fuse with Chloe when she was a child, to give her all the knowledge of the future. So in this case, Satella having two personalities after fusing with her witch factor was due to her future self traveling back in time and fusing with her. This could be a really cool idea, and the difference in their personalities could be due to Subaru's death. I think any of these could be the truth, but it would be funny if the visions were a trial like Echidona's and see if Subaru would pass, and since he did, he was summoned to the world. If you enjoyed and want to see more ReZero content, I have a lot prepared, so hit the like button and subscribe with notifications to not miss anything.